Surprise, surprise. Now this week, I put cheese on your number 3 because you got 2 Twilight Zone episodes from me in 3 days. With the passing of Robert Redford this week, my request line was blown up with one request and one request only. Season 3, episode 16 of the Twilight Zone, Nothing in the Dark. The episode begins in this kitchen, and from the looks of it, I know that this person who lives there has either done one of two things. They've either given up or they've done everything that they could have, and I overstood. I do want to call out this though. Even with everything that's going on, you see these 2 items here? They still have salt and pepper. It is September, almost October, which means that we are on the heels of a holiday season. You see how they can have nothing and still have salt and pepper? Season y'all food. We don't want to see. I'm not going to get started. Moving on to our main character. Salt and pepper is bare minimum. I'm just saying. Excuse me. This is our main character. We're going to call her Elder Anxiety from Disney's Inside Out. Baby, this lady would flinch at a mouse tinkling on a piece of cotton in a nursery. Do you hear me? She was scared of everything. Now she hears some ruffling outside, and the first thing I notice is, there are no windows, and there's snow outside. And then a shot goes off in the air. But instead of her getting back in this position, which would have been much safer, Elderly Anxiety from Disney's Inside Out decides to put her face against the door. Where the gunshot just went, why? And as she listens more closely, she hears a man say, "I'm a police officer. I've been hit. Help." And as she leans in, I lean out because I say, but if the officer was hit, where's the hitter? Okay, you know? Child, she opens up that door slowly like Dorothy in Wizard of Oz, expecting to see a colorful munchkin land, and all she sees is somebody laying on the ground bleeding out. And what does she do? She looks at the man who's currently holding his spleen in place and is like, "I can't come out there. I'll die." You? First of all, baby, we've seen your house. Ain't a window in sight. It was either gonna be this or hypothermia. I don't know what to tell you. And when they zoom in, we realize that the officer is none other than Robert Redford, Pretty Bobby, what they call him, and he is begging for this lady to let him in the house. Mind you, the whole time this man is groaning and grasping for breath, Anxiety from Disney's Inside Out keeps saying, "It's not fair. If I go outside, I'll die." Now, this is what I want to tell you, baby. Potentially you will pass away. Would you prefer to go to hell or heaven? Because if you let this man bleed out, I fear it's going to be the former. But it's not until the man calls out that he thinks that he's paralyzed that she goes, "Okay, let me just touch him and see if I die." She touches him. Guess what? She's still alive. So she decides to help him. And voila, Elder Anxiety from Disney's Inside Out decides to pick up Robert Redford, Pretty Bobby, what they call him, from that snow and drag him into the house. She drags him in the house and then she puts him on the bed while she starts to pace the floor. And when Pretty Bobby finally gets the strength to lean himself against the wall, he's like, "All right, now at least when the ambulance comes, everything will be all right." And Elder Anxiety from Disney's Inside Out looks at him with a blank stare. And I leaned in because she ain't calling no ambulance, baby. You're here. Now, on top of her not calling the police, the other question that I had was, if you a police officer and you got taken down, where are your folks? Why isn't there already something that's out about, hey, one of our own just got taken down. We need to go back to this address. Why didn't that happen? But then she goes on to tell this man that not only did she not call anybody, she does not have a phone, and she does not have any neighbors that she can go and ask for help because she's the only person that lives in this condemned building. Yup, y'all heard it, condemned. And she goes on to say she has not been outside in years because she thinks that Mr. Death is stalking her. She's seen him as a gas man, she's seen him as a contract worker, and she does not want to leave because she just doesn't want to die. She's not ready. And whole time, Robert Redford, Pretty Bobby, what they call him, is sitting there like, okay, I'm just gonna bleed out and head to the police myself. So Pretty Bobby is like, okay, so tell me how all this started. Like, how long have you been in this house? In which this is when she responds by saying, well, let me go get a spot of tea. And I would say, baby, you can keep any liquids or foods you have in this house to yourself. I don't need a spot of nothing but an ambulance. Do you hear me? But Robert doesn't listen to me screaming at the television and drinks the tea anyway. And he dies because she was deaf. I'm just kidding. Okay, so boom. This is what happened. A couple decades ago, Elder Anxiety from Disney's Inside Out was on a bus. And on that bus, she saw a cow. E-I-E-I-O. I am punchy today. And on that bus, in front of her, an elderly lady is sitting by herself. A younger gentleman gets on the bus, and despite there being several open seats, he decides to sit right next to the elderly lady. Now, this man next to this elderly woman really upset the elderly woman, and she does not understand why. Until the elderly woman drops something on the ground, the guy goes to pick it up, gives it to her, touches her hand softly by mistake, and the woman is like, "Thank you." He gets off of the bus, and by the time the bus makes it to the last stop of the station, it is just her and the elderly woman left on the bus. She gets up to walk towards the elderly woman to walk off of the bus. The elderly woman has passed away. So she has now decided in her brain that that elderly woman died because death was the young man that got on the bus, touched her, and she was gone. And she says that she has never forgotten his face and that she's seen him several times since then as a gas worker, as a contractor, all these people, and she keeps them outside. And at this rate, if I was Pretty Bobby, I would have taken a pan and knocked her over the head. But Pretty Bobby is concerned. He says, "Well, how have you been getting food?" And she tells him that she has a young boy deliver her meals, and when he walks away, she opens the door quickly and gets the food. We also learn that she used to be a hot girl. Baby, she used to be outside. They used to tell her her skin was beautiful. And from that day on, she stayed inside because she said she would rather be inside than die because the darkness was safer than being outside. And this is when Pretty Bobby should have told her, "Well, baby, if you've been inside for the rest of your life, you might as well be dead because you're definitely not living in here." But he is not the modern day griot that I am, so he didn't have the words to put, But then I'm snatched away from my vanity because there is a knock on the door, and it's a contractor. And before Elderly Anxiety from Disney's Inside Out could close that door, he put that boot in there, that steel-toe boot went to work. He pushes my Elderly Anxiety and throws her to the ground, literally. And he touches her, but she still doesn't pass. And this is when we learn that this is a contractor who has been trying to get this woman to leave the building for months because they are tearing this building down in 1 hour. She trying to read this man for filth, talking about, "What kind of person are you to tear down my home?" Baby, he is trying to do his job. He's like, "I'm not a bad man. I'm just trying to clear things out so that new things that are not condemned can be put there." I said, "Sir, at this point, you're an oil salesman and this is a rusty tin woman. Just leave it alone. She don't even realize that she needs you." Then something weird happens. He doesn't acknowledge the police officer in the room, but says, "I'm going to just call the police and have them escort you out." And he never acknowledges the police officer right there on the bed. So when the contract person leaves, she looks at Robert and she's like, "Bro, why didn't you help me?" Then it dawns on her. He never even acknowledged Bobby. And Pretty Bobby tells her to turn around and look at the mirror to see that his reflection does not exist. She realizes he is death. And she is mortified because she's like, "You played me. I trusted you." When I tell y'all Pretty Bobby put it on thick, he was literally flirting with this lady. It was weird. He essentially tells her, "Come on, baby. It's time for you to rest. You've seen that I'm kind, I'm smart, and I'm important, and I would not hurt you. Come with me." She touches his hand, and he's like, "See? It didn't even hurt. Turn around, look." And their Anxiety is in her bed, passed away. One thing that was interesting though, and I never really got an answer for it, he calls her mother. Do y'all know why he called her mama? And for the first time in several decades, she is now free, and she is able to leave her home in her spirit form. And as Rod Serling's self-acclaimed Black play niece, I leave you with this message. My prayer to everyone here is that whatever spirit guide come pick you up is this fine. I know that's, rest in peace, Robert Redford. You was fine, child.